from two people who lost intimately familiar with the Titanic.
The Titanic had been missing at the bottom of the ocean for decades.
Joining us right now is James Cameron.
In 1997, James Cameron's Titanic sailed into theaters, becoming one of Hollywood's greatest cinematic romances. But behind those iconic scenes of love and tragedy was a grueling, often traumatic production that left its cast and crew scarred. With actors battling pneumonia, crew members facing mental breakdowns, and a director whose quest for perfection bordered on tyrannical, Titanic wasn't just a movie, it was a battlefield. When Cameron set out to make Titanic, he wasn't merely interested in crafting a movie about a shipwreck. He wanted to transport audiences back to 1912, making them feel as if they were genuinely aboard the ill-fated vessel. During his 1995 pitch to 20th Century Fox, Cameron didn't just rely on a script or storyboards. He brought a stack of books on the Titanic, showcasing his exhaustive research. His ambition was staggering. He planned to build a 775-foot replica of the ship, nearly matching the original size, on what would become the largest movie set ever constructed. To achieve this, Cameron oversaw the construction of a massive 17-million-gallon water tank in Mexico. The tank allowed the ship to sit in water that seamlessly blended with the ocean on camera, enhancing the realism. His obsession with authenticity extended to even the smallest details. Extras wore period-correct underwear, despite it never being visible on screen. Cameron's vision required nothing less than absolute historical accuracy. Before filming even began, Cameron embarked on 12 deep-sea dives to the actual Titanic wreck. Some of the footage captured during these expeditions was used in the film, further enhancing its authenticity. On one dive, his submersible crashed into the Titanic's hull, causing damage to both the sub and the ship. But Cameron pressed on, undeterred. He even employed a clever trick to make the Titanic look larger on screen by hiring extras who were all under 5 feet 8 inches. However, this dedication came at a steep price, literally. The budget for Titanic ballooned to a staggering $200 million, making it the most expensive film ever made at the time. It was costing about $1 million for every minute of screen time. Hollywood insiders began predicting a colossal failure. Fox executives panicked, suggesting Cameron cut an hour from the movie to save money and allow for more showings in theaters. Cameron refused, reportedly telling them, "You want to cut my movie? You're going to have to fire me. You want to fire me? You're going to have to kill me." As costs soared, Fox sought a financial partner. Universal declined, but Paramount stepped in, agreeing to share the expenses. Paramount secured U.S. distribution rights, while Fox retained international rights, but still shouldered the bulk of the financial burden. The film's production dragged on from the planned few months to 160 exhausting days, pushing its release from July to December 1997. Cameron even offered to forego his $8 million salary to keep the film afloat. At one point, the president of Fox's parent company admitted their only hope was to break even, not to turn a profit. The grueling shoot took a heavy toll on everyone involved. The crew worked 6 days a week, often logging 13-hour days or longer. Night shoots were particularly brutal, with limited dark hours available for filming. Exhaustion set in, with crew members reportedly falling asleep during safety meetings. The environment was so harsh that the crew gave Cameron the nickname Midge, Jim spelled backward, as a nod to his demanding nature. But Cameron was unfazed. He believed that hard work and unrelenting attention to detail were the only paths to achieving his vision. Conditions were further worsened by the lack of adequate breaks. Many cast and crew members had to skip meals, working straight through lunch. Even bathroom breaks were a challenge. During the lifeboat scenes, Cameron reportedly warned actors not to leave the set, threatening their jobs if they did. The pressure was immense, and the options were grim. Kate Winslet and others later admitted they had to relieve themselves in the massive water tank because leaving for the bathroom was not an option. One of the hardest parts of the production was the long hours actors spent in the cold water tanks. To capture the realism of the sinking ship, director James Cameron insisted on using water that was colder than typical movie sets, about 13 degrees Celsius, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. While not as frigid as the Atlantic on the night of the real disaster, it was still uncomfortably cold, causing significant distress among the cast and crew. Most actors wore wetsuits under their costumes to help withstand the icy water, but Kate Winslet refused. She wanted her performance as Rose to be as authentic as possible, a decision that led to her developing pneumonia. The intense shooting schedule made breaks rare. It took too much time to get actors out of the water, dry them off, and reset for another take. The longer they stayed submerged, the colder they became. Some began to feel ill, but the relentless pace of production left little room for recovery. The harsh conditions took a toll on the entire cast. Winslet not only suffered from pneumonia, but also chipped a bone in her elbow. She even feared for her life during some scenes. Other cast members developed colds, flu, and even kidney infections due to prolonged exposure to the cold water. The stunt crew also faced extreme risks. 3 stunt performers broke bones while executing dangerous sequences. One of the most dangerous scenes involved thousands of gallons of water crashing through a glass dome. The sheer force of the water could have caused serious injuries or worse. Many crew members couldn't handle the physical and mental demands of the shoot and quit. Those who remained were exhausted, often falling asleep during critical safety meetings, which only increased the risks. Despite the chaos, Cameron refused to slow down. His obsession with perfection led to long hours, minimal breaks, and an expectation that everyone would match his intense work ethic. Cameron dismissed the complaints, believing that hard work and sacrifice were necessary to achieve his vision. Kate Winslet faced some of the most dangerous situations on set. On December 12, 1996, she was filming a scene where Rose and Jack run through a flooding corridor. Her heavy costume became stuck in a grate as water levels rose, trapping her underwater for 45 terrifying seconds. She struggled to free herself and thought she might drown. Fortunately, the crew intervened just in time. Despite the traumatic experience, Winslet returned to filming, showing remarkable resilience. By January 1997, the physical strain caught up with her. Winslet developed pneumonia, with her body temperature dropping dangerously low. She needed urgent medical care and was advised to rest, but her dedication to the project brought her back to set after just 3 days. Still sick, she endured up to 12-hour days in the cold water, weakening her immune system. Even after filming ended, she continued to battle bronchitis throughout 1997. Her injuries piled up. During a scene on September 23, 1996, where Rose tries to break Jack's handcuffs with an axe, Winslet's aim was off, resulting in a chipped bone in her elbow. The pain lingered for weeks, but she persevered. By November 1996, her body was so bruised that the makeup team used her real injuries as reference points for continuity between scenes. December brought more challenges. She spent a week being slammed against waterfalls and debris while filming the ship's chaotic sinking. The bruises on her arms were so severe that she later remarked, "I looked like a battered wife." Yet Winslet refused to use a stunt double, insisting on performing even the toughest scenes herself. By the end of filming in March 1997, she had sustained at least 40 different injuries. Her performance was not just an act, It was an extraordinary feat of physical and mental endurance. Beyond the physical challenges, Winslet also faced emotional struggles. James Cameron, known for his tough directing style, reportedly gave her a cruel nickname, "Kate Weighs a Lot." Though Cameron has since denied this, Winslet later opened up about how deeply it hurt her. At just 21 years old, and already grappling with body image issues, this nickname was not merely a joke. It compounded the pressure she felt in an industry with often unrealistic beauty standards. Standing 5 feet 6 inches and weighing around 180 pounds, Winslet was not overweight. However, Hollywood's rigid expectations of female beauty made her feel inadequate. The nickname contributed to body shaming from the media after Titanic was released. Winslet, who had been bullied as a child with taunts of blubber, found herself reliving those painful memories. The experience profoundly shaped her views on body image and self-acceptance. In the years since, Winslet has become a vocal advocate for body positivity. She refuses to allow her photos to be airbrushed and actively speaks out against the unrealistic standards perpetuated by Hollywood. Despite the relentless challenges, she remained resolute, determined to finish what she started, no matter the cost. When a powerful storm struck the Rosarito Beach set in Mexico on October 17, 1996, Winslet went beyond her role as an actress. With parts of the set destroyed by wind and rain, she joined the crew, working for 14 hours straight to rebuild. This tireless work ethic set her apart, as she frequently put in up to 20-hour days without shortcuts. One of the toughest scenes came on December 28, 1996, when Winslet had to jump into frigid water repeatedly, enduring over 20 takes. Though a stunt double was an option, she insisted on performing the stunts herself for the sake of authenticity. Even after contracting pneumonia, Winslet ignored doctors' orders and continued filming. When the movie wrapped in March 1997, most would have expected her to rest, but by June, she was back on set for additional scenes, voluntarily stepping in despite commitments to other projects. Winslet's dedication had personal costs. She missed significant family events, including her sister's wedding, as filming stretched far beyond schedule. Yet, in a 2017 interview, she expressed no regrets, saying, "Titanic was a film I was determined to see through, no matter the cost." Her perseverance contributed significantly to the movie's eventual status as one of the greatest blockbusters of all time. While Winslet's casting seemed destined, the choice of Leonardo DiCaprio as Jack Dawson was not so straightforward. By 1996, DiCaprio had already gained recognition through films like What's Eating Gilbert Grape and The Basketball Diaries. However, director James Cameron initially doubted his suitability for the role of Jack, envisioning the character as a rugged working-class artist. Cameron even considered Matthew McConaughey as a potential lead. DiCaprio's screen test on June 24, 1996, with Winslet changed everything. The chemistry between the two actors was undeniable. Cameron later described it as a moment where the clouds opened up and the sun shined on Jack. However, Cameron remained cautious, subjecting DiCaprio to multiple auditions and additional scene tests. One of these unscripted moments, where Jack sketches Rose, was so compelling that Cameron decided to incorporate it into the film. Despite this, DiCaprio had his own reservations. At 21, he was focused on smaller, more artistic projects and resisted the idea of becoming a mainstream heartthrob. When first offered the role, he bluntly told Cameron, "I don't do love stories, I don't do period pieces." He found Jack's character too simplistic, and even proposed adding a darker backstory or a significant flaw to add depth. Cameron, however, was steadfast, refusing to alter the role's essence. It wasn't just Cameron who had to convince DiCaprio. Kate Winslet played a pivotal role in securing him for the film. Already cast as Rose, Winslet believed deeply in the project. She called DiCaprio persistently, even going so far as to visit him at his hotel to advocate for the film. Her persistence, combined with the allure of working on a groundbreaking production, finally swayed him. Filming began on September 1st, 1996, but the reality of the shoot was far from glamorous. The water scenes, some of the most grueling in the film, tested the actor's physical and mental limits. Most were shot in a 17-million-gallon water tank in Rosarito, Mexico. While the water was heated to 27 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the actors' prolonged exposure left them miserable. Winslet, already battling pneumonia, considered quitting. DiCaprio also struggled, frequently ill and exhausted. The infamous ocean scenes, where Jack and Rose float in the freezing water, were shot over 7 harrowing nights from March 18th to March 24th, 1997. To enhance the illusion of the frigid Atlantic, the crew added a chemical to the water to create a steaming effect. However, this additive irritated the actors' skin and eyes, compounding their discomfort. Cameron's strict rule, "If you're not wet, you're not working," underscored the relentless pace. There was little room for sympathy, only an unyielding push toward perfection. The set of Titanic was not only physically grueling, but also a hotbed of tension, particularly between director James Cameron and actor Leonardo DiCaprio. Their clashing styles led to frequent arguments. Cameron, known for his meticulous planning, had little patience for improvisation, while DiCaprio, who thrived on spontaneity, often pushed back against the rigid structure. One of their first major disputes occurred on October 15, 1996, during a scene where Jack and Rose run from rushing water. DiCaprio proposed changing his lines to better fit the moment, but Cameron shut him down, insisting that the script remain untouched. The friction only grew as production continued. On November 28, 1996, another heated argument erupted. DiCaprio resisted wearing a wetsuit under his costume during water scenes, fearing it would affect his performance. Cameron, prioritizing safety and comfort, insisted. Hours of debate delayed filming, and while DiCaprio ultimately conceded, the strain in their working relationship was palpable. By early 1997, the grueling schedule had taken its toll on DiCaprio. The long hours, freezing water, and Cameron's relentless pursuit of perfection left him physically and mentally drained. His exhaustion began showing. He started arriving late to set, which only intensified the director's frustrations. On January 8th, Cameron reached his breaking point, publicly calling out DiCaprio in front of the entire crew. He threatened to fire him if he did not start taking the role seriously. Though this confrontation pushed DiCaprio to adjust his attitude and approach, the underlying tension remained. Despite their frequent clashes, both later acknowledged that the friction contributed positively to the film. In 2017, Cameron reflected, "Leo and I fought a lot, but I want actors who care about their characters." DiCaprio admitted that the demanding experience was a turning point, teaching him the realities of working on massive film productions. Their strained dynamic may have been challenging on set, but it ultimately fueled performances that helped Titanic become one of the biggest movies of all time. While arguments between director and actor are not uncommon, a bizarre incident on August 19, 1996, proved just how unpredictable the Titanic set could be. It was the final night of filming in Nova Scotia, and as the clock approached midnight, the cast and crew took a break to enjoy a seafood chowder. The meal seemed normal, delicious even, with some going back for seconds and thirds. What no one realized was that the chowder had been laced with PCP, a powerful hallucinogen. Initially, everything seemed fine, but within half an hour, reality began to warp. Cameron was the first to sense something was wrong. After eating only one bowl, he felt nauseous and, suspecting food poisoning, made himself vomit. This quick thinking may have spared him from the full effects of the drug, but for the rest of the cast and crew, chaos ensued. The drug's impact was immediate and intense. Crew members began behaving erratically. Some laughed uncontrollably, while others spiraled into terror. A towering crew member, over 6 feet tall, screamed about something crawling inside him. Electricians and grips, usually grounded and focused, stumbled around babbling incoherently. Even Cameron, known for his tight control over the set, was seen running through the chaos, shouting nonsensical phrases. Bill Paxton, who portrayed treasure hunter Brock Lovett, was also affected but remained in surprisingly good spirits. While the situation descended into madness, he sat calmly in a hospital hallway, grinning as if enjoying an odd, surreal experience. The film's cinematographer, Caleb Deschanel, joined a spontaneous dance party, leading a group through the hospital in a bizarre, drug-fueled conga line. When the affected crew members arrived at Dartmouth General Hospital around 1 a.m., the emergency room staff were completely unprepared. Dr. Rob Roy, a physician on duty, described the scene. These people were stoned. They had no idea what was going on. Normally quiet at night, the hospital transformed into a circus. Some crew members raced wheelchairs down corridors, while others continued dancing and laughing uncontrollably. The doctors, struggling to manage the situation, eventually administered activated charcoal to help absorb the drug and restore sanity. Yet, despite a thorough investigation, the perpetrator was never caught. The production's swift move to Mexico made tracking potential suspects nearly impossible. The Titanic set poisoning remains one of Hollywood's strangest unsolved mysteries. Director James Cameron believed the incident might have been an act of revenge. The day before, a crew member had been fired for clashing with the catering team, and Cameron suspected this disgruntled individual might have poisoned the food. There were also whispers about a food services worker previously removed from the set for selling drugs, adding another layer to the mystery. More outlandish theories even suggested the poisoning was a deliberate attempt to delay filming and trigger an insurance payout. However, with no concrete evidence, the case was officially closed in 1999, leaving the truth buried at sea. Surprisingly, the incident did not derail the movie's progress. If anything, it strengthened the camaraderie among the cast and crew. The shared ordeal broke down barriers, even softening Cameron's typically intense demeanor. 2 days after the poisoning, he was seen at 4 a.m., slumped on set with a bottle of scotch, an uncharacteristic display of vulnerability. The unexpected pause in production also gave Cameron time to rethink certain scenes. He chose to reshoot parts of Bill Paxton's introduction, ultimately improving the final cut. However, the psychological impact lingered. Marilyn McAvoy, the artist behind Jack's sketches of Rose, admitted to mild flashbacks for months. Bill Paxton often revisited the bizarre experience in interviews, still stunned by the surreal events. Beyond Titanic, the incident had a lasting effect on Hollywood. Film sets became much stricter about food safety, with tighter regulations on catering companies and closer monitoring of food suppliers to prevent a repeat of such a nightmare. While the chowder incident was an anomaly, the intensity on set was a constant. Cameron's reputation for being a tough director turned into something far more daunting during Titanic. Just weeks into filming, on August 9, 1996, he abruptly fired 50 crew members, believing they were not working hard enough. The day became known as Bloody Friday, setting the tone for the rest of the shoot. Those who remained understood that perfection was not just a goal, but an expectation, regardless of the toll it took. Cameron's temper flared frequently, often over minor issues. On September 25, 1996, a misplaced teacup led to a 45-minute tirade against the prop master. Witnesses described his face turning red as he shouted loud enough for the entire set to hear. Another outburst occurred on November 12, 1996, over a door. After an extra repeatedly mishandled a door in the background of a scene, Cameron stormed onto the set, demonstrating how to close it properly. His frustration boiled over into a nearly hour-long display, leaving the rest of the cast and crew in stunned silence. The most unsettling moment came on December 3, 1996, during a night shoot. A lighting technician, worn out by the punishing schedule, fell asleep. Cameron's reaction was swift and severe. He grabbed the technician by the shirt, shaking him while yelling, "If you can't stay awake, I'll find someone who can." Security had to intervene, and the technician quit on the spot. Such outbursts became part of the set's daily rhythm, as Cameron drove everyone to match his vision of excellence, regardless of the personal cost. Even lead actors were not immune to his wrath. Kate Winslet, who played Rose, later confessed, "There were times I was genuinely frightened of him." One of those moments occurred on October 18, 1996, during the filming of the iconic "I'm Flying" scene. After hours in the freezing water, Winslet, visibly shivering, asked for a break. Cameron's response was cold. "You want a break? Then get off my set." Too intimidated to argue, Winslet pushed through. By the end of the day, she was suffering from mild hypothermia and required medical attention. Leonardo DiCaprio also found himself battling under James Cameron's strict direction. On November 30, 1996, during a particularly emotional scene, DiCaprio struggled to deliver the intensity Cameron demanded. After 36 takes, Cameron's patience snapped. "Do you want to be a fudding waiter for the rest of your life? Or do you want to be an actor?" he shouted. The harshness of the outburst drove DiCaprio off set, where he locked himself in his trailer for hours to recover. Even experienced actors like Bill Paxton weren't spared. During an underwater scene on January 7, 1997, Paxton made a minor mistake, prompting Cameron to berate him for a full 10 minutes. Paxton, who had worked with Cameron before, later confessed that it was the first time he felt on the verge of a panic attack while on set. Extras faced equally harsh conditions. During the intense sinking scenes on December 12, 1996, an extra collapsed after prolonged exposure to cold water. When crew members informed Cameron, his response was chillingly indifferent. "Leave him. We'll shoot around him." This incident left many background actors fearful, creating an atmosphere where mistakes felt dangerous. When Titanic hit theaters on December 19, 1997, the world quickly became enamored with the film and its stars. But the sudden fame was not the fairy tale it appeared to be. At just 22, Kate Winslet found herself thrust into the global spotlight. What initially felt like a dream soon became a nightmare. The media's relentless scrutiny, particularly of her appearance, became suffocating. British tabloids even published her supposed body measurements on their front pages in early 1998. The constant pressure contributed to an eating disorder, as Winslet struggled to meet impossible beauty standards. The paparazzi's obsession with Winslet was unrelenting. In March 1998, she was involved in a minor car accident while trying to escape photographers in London. Though the crash caused no serious injuries, it amplified the invasive media frenzy surrounding her. DiCaprio's experience was similarly unsettling. By April 1998, he had to obtain a restraining order against a woman who broke into his home 3 times, claiming to be his wife. Fame was not just exhausting, it was frightening. The personal toll of Titanic extended beyond the lead actors. Winslate's relationship with actor Stephen Treadra fell apart by the end of 1997. Meanwhile, DiCaprio could not escape fabricated stories. In July 1998, rumors of a bar fight spread so rapidly that his publicist had to publicly deny the false claims. Even as Titanic shattered box office records, grossing over $2.2 billion and winning 11 Oscars, the trauma of making the film overshadowed the celebrations for many involved. Billy Zane, who portrayed the villainous Cal, revealed that he experienced recurring nightmares about drowning. In 1999, nearly 2 years after the movie's release, his anxiety had become so severe that he checked into a sleep clinic, desperate for rest. Frances Fisher, who played Rose's strict mother, developed a fear of large bodies of water. By 2022, on the 25th anniversary of Titanic, she admitted she had not been on a cruise or even visited a beach since filming, haunted by the film's intense water scenes. DiCaprio, despite his meteoric rise to global stardom, struggled with his new reality. In 2000, he opened up about feeling trapped by his own fame. He turned down lucrative roles, afraid of being typecast as Jack Dawson forever. His reluctance to embrace mainstream Hollywood success stemmed from a desire to break free from the public's singular view of him. The psychological strain extended behind the camera as well. Russell Carpenter, Cameron's cinematographer, revealed that he developed panic attacks simply from hearing the sound of rushing water. The grueling months spent filming the flooding scenes had left a lasting mark on his mental health. While the movie achieved legendary status, the shared experience of making Titanic was a reminder of the heavy price of artistic perfection. The film's legacy is not only about cinematic achievement, but also about the resilience of those who survived its making.